How's it going, guys? Welcome back to part 2 of the 33-year-old brand new in the box receiver, realistic STA-2280. I believe I made a mistake in the last video about saying this machine was in between the 25 and 2600. I actually believe it was in between the 2600 and the 22 or the 2380, the black, where they painted this black. Simply because there is a black version of this machine, which I forgot to mention also in the last video. They only sold it in Europe. Basically, it was like the 2380 and the 2700, where they painted this black. They also have black knobs, but the knobs was aluminum, just painted. And these wood sides was still wood sides, but it was black finish. Of course, it would have probably been able to run on 220 or 240 volts as well. I would love to get my hands on one of those. I actually look all the time, but I can't find anybody willing to ship one here. I have to see some kind of customs issues with countries that have them. Anyways, in this video, we're going to put these chrome buttons in here. As well, I hate to open this thing up, but at the same time, I want chrome buttons. I want these to be chrome. And while we're in there, I have some questions for this machine. Like, one of them is simply, how much power does it use sitting at idle compared to old ones? You know, it's unused. It could be damaged from sitting around not being used, you know, but presuming that it's still in the shape it should be. And that was also power cycled by the person I bought it from, so you know, as far as cap reforming and things like that. So I want to see how much power it uses at idle. The old one that I have out in the living room in use every day uses 29 watts doing nothing. So we'll see what this one is. And then also the power regulators in here, I've always been curious if they run super hot and, you know, when they're new. So when we get the top off, we'll check that out as well. Alright, I was just going to go right into doing a power test on this, but I decided to go ahead and go with the dim bulb at first. So excuse the lighting in here. I have put tons of lights in this room, and it just seems like I still not enough light, or I got way too much light in some places and not enough in others. Turn this off. I'm gonna turn it on with this switch right here, and it came out of protection. I heard the click, but it remained, it kept memory from the last time it was plugged in, which has been weeks. It's been weeks ago. And I gotta mention that all of my other ones wouldn't have kept memory more than a week. It's like 8-9 days at most. Most of them are like 5 days. These use a capacitor to keep the memory. And I can tell you that this right here was put on that radio station because by default it would be that. So, alright, well, I'm going to let it sit here and run for a little bit on the dim bulb, maybe 5 minutes or so. It gets warmed up a little bit, and then I'll turn it off from here and we'll get it on the kilowatt meter. Alright, it's been running on the dim bulb now for not long enough to get the top off and the sides. You see here, perfectly clean, not a speck of dust in here. And I gotta mention too, it is on the dim bulb still, you know, so these things might not be as warm as what they would be. Yeah, but we'll find out when I plug it into the mains. I'll plug it into the kilowatt meter, how hot these get. I mean, it's quite a bit warm. Same with these pre-drivers right here. Quite warm. Seems pretty typical, you know, the temperature wise. I just know that this right here can get so stinking hot you can't keep your fingers on it. I always just kind of wondered if, like, you know, things around it degraded on the older ones and, you know, causes this to run as hot as it does. But, you know, granted, the capacitors and stuff in this could be, you know, degraded from time, but as far as the resistors and things, probably not. I mean, they've never been used, so. But alright, well, we'll turn it off, go over to the kilowatt meter, see what it says. Over to watt. So this is saying 32 watts. I don't know if you guys can see it. The one in the living room says 29. So there's a difference. Alright, it's been some time now, about 10 minutes. Kilowatt meter hasn't budged off 32. And I got to thinking a little bit about the wattage difference. Is it the one in the living room I converted over to LED. There is one incandescent bulb right here in this machine, and I converted the one in the living room to an LED, so that's probably our 3 watt difference. As far as the components in here getting hot, this right here is the typical, I can't hold my finger on it for more, maybe like 5 seconds limit, and I'd start burning my finger. So that's typical of the other ones. It's been well used. And it's pretty much the same way with these devices here. These you know, your pre-drivers. They're like an STK module that basically drives your outputs. I don't know why they run so stinking hot. It's just weird. They actually run cooler when you're driving them. So it's kind of strange about it too. Like if I have it hooked up to a load and have it driving, these actually cool down. I've noticed that with the other machines. Alright, well, we'll move along with getting these buttons changed out. I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't make me take the bottom off in order to get this off of here. Basically, I took the metal trim face off, and then this snaps in. But these snaps, they are underneath this. But with removing the, you know, getting to the snaps on the top, and then pushing this up a little bit, I was able to unsnap it. And there's the buttons that we need to replace. Alright, I wanted to note the design differences of these buttons. Also, I wasn't able to completely get them spotless. They're like some micro pitting in some of them. You see it there. I can't get them exactly perfect. But for whatever reason, the faces of them look pretty good. It's just the sides that, well, you really don't see much of the side anyways. You see here, they're the same height. Exactly. They are designed differently. See here, this got like a little plastic clip on the bottom, and these use like little inserts. I've already done this swap on other machines, so that's how I know that they will fit in there and work just perfectly. It's just, it's how they made the socket on them is different. You know, the same bottoms. Alright, got the new buttons installed. I think it looks way better. Sorry about the lighting, it's just actually using a flashlight to try to help with the lighting here. It just gives it like a blue cast because it's LEDs. Alright, so this will be kind of a new thing. What do you guys think about doing a power test? This thing's supposed to be 60 or 65 watts. Let's see, what does it say on here? 60 watts per channel. So we'll hook up a function generator and a little cheap oscilloscope and see what we get. Alright, we got our rig set up on 8 ohm loads, and here's the function generator at 1K, 1 kilohertz sine wave. And the signal comes off this thing isn't the greatest. So anything you see on here besides clipping, it's this thing. You see right now we're running at 1 volt. and I've already determined that I can get her up to about 24 right on the nose. Right there is 2396. You can only see half the waveform because you have to adjust this thing down to where you can actually see everything on the screen. So all I can do is check the top, or I can move everything all the way up and check the bottom. But it seems to be 24 volts. And at 24 volts at 8 ohms is 72 watts. So we'll put a 4 ohm load on it once and see what it does with that. Alright, so we're all set up on 4 ohm loads. Got both channels driven. And run her up to... Every time I do it, it seems to get to about 19.5. And that's about all. You guys can see it. Right here is the voltage. But 19.5 seems to be the limit. And that would be 95 watts. So 95 watts on 4 ohm and 72 watts on 8 ohm. Alright, so I almost forgot, I had this kilowatt meter hooked up, and we can see what the power usage of the machine is whenever it is up to clipping. So I'm going to turn it up to clipping. Right there, about 420, 430 watts. Man, these loads get super hot. I got them on a heatsink with a fan. I can't imagine running them without it, and then even then, like, you don't want to run it for very long, and these babies are cooking. I just can't imagine. You see other guys have resistors that's like this big around and a foot long, you know, and these here are like 1.5 inches long and maybe 1/2 inch thick. It's just crazy. I mean, they do okay for doing a test, but man, you don't want to do it for very long. They'd probably burn up. Alright, got it all back together. And a little recap of it was 32 watts doing nothing. Also, I went back and got a wattage rating of total system usage on 8 ohms, and it's quite a bit less. 280 watts running 2 8 ohm loads versus 2 4 ohm loads on 420 watts. So it uses a lot more power on 4 ohms, which doesn't surprise me, but that much difference surprised me. And then 72 watts at 8 ohms and 95 watts at 4 ohms. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Catch you guys later.